What's the purpose of the money? College, weddings, first house, first car, room and board, just to help them, just so they have money. If they want to go buy a jet ski when they're 18, they can do it. We use different accounts for different things. So that's a big one.
Sure.
And do you want to have control, or do you want the grandkid to have control? That's another thing. And what you're getting to is most grandparents have multiple grandkids at different stages of their life.
Sure.
In a lot of cases, they're not all angels.
Okay.
Grandkids go through phases of life just like, we all have.
Right.
So some may not be ready for grandpa or grandma's help. Some will. There might be second marriages involved with your kids where you don't even see, your blood grandkids, and you see your step grandkids. And they treat you just like a blood grandma and grandpa. Whatever the case, every family's different, like we always say on the show. But you got to make a decision, who do you want to help?
Sure.
Do you want to help your grandkids as in equally all of them?
Welcome to today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. Anchored in family values, Wayne offers practical advice to help you get the most out of your retirement years. For more information, visit todaysretirees.com. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. Today we are going to be talking about something that is very near and dear to many of us, grandchildren. Most of us have grandchildren. Some of us have step-grandchildren. Not everybody has, Wayne, I have 15 of these little boogers.
Oh, geez.
From...
You better pay attention then.
I know, it's crazy. Somebody asked me the other day, so I said, well, every November I go rob a bank so I can participate in Christmas. I'm joking, I don't do that. But, it can get very pricey very quickly.
Yeah, and not everyone has that many grandkids.
Right.
But, when retirees do accumulate money and a family, and they start spending a lot of time with the grandkids, and the grandkids start growing up, they start thinking more than just Christmas time.
Sure.
They start thinking college and the grandkids' future. And a lot of times they want to help the grandchildren.
Sure. Well, and Scripture tells us that we're supposed to leave an inheritance for our children's children.
Yeah, and that's something we're going to try and decipher in this show. One of the first kind of bullet points I have is, if you want to help grandkids, when do you want to help them? What you just said is once you're dead.
Right.
So, a lot of grandparents want to help when they're alive and healthy and vibrant, and want to see their grandkids enjoy whatever it is, and how the grandparents want to help them.
Sure. Well, I know a young man I was talking to recently, his father, who's in his 80s now, is wanting to buy a vehicle for one or two of his children.
Perfect. Yeah.
And he said, no, Dad, you don't want to do that right now.
Yeah. And that's it. It's just a lot of grandparents are generous and they want to help. So, when a client comes in and wants to, let's just say they come in, hey, we want to open up 529 for our grandchildren.
Which is a college savings account?
It's a college savings. And,
okay.
And it's not always, in my belief, that's not always the best tool to use or account type to use for helping grandkids. So I start to dig and see what it is they want to help the grandchild with. So a lot of times it's college.
Okay.
Right. So, but if you have a grandchild that's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, we don't know what the college situation is going to be like
in 18, 20 years.
Yeah, 15,
right.
Even 10. They're talking about paid for college and all that. So you may not need to pay for college. But now you have this account that's designed for college or qualified educational expenses, and if you don't use it for that, you not only pay the taxes that you were supposed to be saving, you also pay a penalty on it. So that whole thing you want to do nicely for your grandchild, you end up kind of getting gypped because you didn't need the money. And for whatever reason, the child doesn't go to college. Or the child goes to a community college and it's nowhere near the amount you thought. Or the child gets a scholarship. Either academic or sports. Now you have this money sitting there, and if you don't use it for a particular purpose, you get penalized.
Okay. So is there a better option?
Well, if it is for college, that may be the right thing for them. If they want to go to a private school, or we just know we're going to need money for college, then that could be a good tool. There's college savings IRAs, Coverdell IRAs. You can't put as much money in there, but they're more beneficial tax-wise. You could just open a what's called a UGMA account or UTMA account, Uniform Gift to Minors Act or Uniform Transfer to Minors Act. So the only problem with that is it's not like earmarked for college or any specific education. It's pretty much you could use it for whatever you want to use it for.
Okay.
And depending on if it's UTMA or UGMA, at 18 the UTMA it's the kids.
Oh?
It's theirs at 18.
And you have no control?
No, it's their money. It's their money till they're of age. If it's a uniform gift to minors, then it's age 21.
Okay.
So that child's going to get that money at that point, and then you have no say-so.
Okay.
The grandparent or the parent if the parent's the custodian in it.
Sure.
So yeah, you have a lot more flexibility with those types of accounts, but you have less control.
Which I would think would concern certain grandparents because, most 17, 18-year-old kids aren't mature enough, and there's some, but most of them are not mature enough to handle a large sum of money given to them all at once.
Yeah, and that's why it depends on the age of the grandchild. I mean, if the grandchild's young, a lot can happen in 15 years.
Sure.
If the grandchild's 15, and good grades and staying out of trouble and disciplined and whatever, and by then you'll know if there's potential scholarship for sports, male or female, in the future.
Sure.
If it's a girl and they're really heavy into volleyball and they're traveling and they're really, wanted by other coaches and teams, that kid may get a scholarship at some point. So you may not need a 529 plan.
Sure. Sure. So trying to figure out when is part of the process.
Well, it's all part of the process. What kid, what's the type of the child, what's the money going to be used for, how old is the child, when might we need the money. They want to use the money for a wedding, the grandchild's first wedding. So that money may not be needed till 25, 30 years old or older.
Sure.
Or a first home purchase, right? There's different reasons how grandparents want to help the grandkids.
Right. All right. Well, friends, we got to take a short break here. When we come back, we're going to talk more about our grandchildren, how to help them, when to help them. And I think most importantly, Wayne will try to answer the questions how do we do that makes sense for us and financially makes the best sense? And I'll bet, I don't know this, but I'll bet we'll talk a little bit about the tax benefits or concerns as we go through this as well. Make sure you go to Wayne's website at todaysretirees.com, todaysretirees.com. We'll be back right after this.
So we've all heard the word rollover when referring to an investment account at work or your 401k, your 403b, your 457 plan. What do you do with that when you've left your job and your 401k or other retirement plan is still at your old employer? Or what if you've retired? One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to leave your money, your retirement account, in your employer's 401k. Quite frankly, your old employer or current employer is the boss of your retirement account. So if you have questions about what to do with your rollover, you roll it to Wayne. to get it in your own hands where you have the whole universe of investments and choices, not just what your employer tells you can pick from. So contact my office for a free consultation on how to roll over your old retirement account.
Visit todaysretirees.com or call 866-626-3990 to schedule a no-cost appointment with Wayne.
Welcome back to Today's Retirees with certified financial planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. Today's program, we are talking about our grandchildren. And I know that most of you, probably all of you, hopefully find your grandchildren to be very, very special. Everybody has their grandchildren on their. You remember, you used to have the grandparents would have the wallet and it'd have 80 pictures. So let me.
No, I don't really. Yeah, they don't do that anymore. They just pull out their phone.
Yeah, and they got 900 of them. On
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
But no, grandchildren are a blessing and they're fun. And most of us who are that are older, that have grandchildren
and money
and some funds, we want to help them.
Yes.
Most of us probably have helped our children at some point in our lives, in our working lives. But when we are dealing with our grandchildren, you're dealing. Number one, the world is a different place than it was 30 years ago.
Yeah, and a lot of grandparents are worried about their grandkids.
Yes.
With Social Security having funding issues and people aren't staying at any particular job for any length of time.
None of those 40-year deals anymore.
Right. No more pensions with employers, and grandparents worry about their grandkids. So they want to try and get them educated and make sure they get a leg up and a head start in life. And that's what we're talking about.
Sure.
So that is one of the categories here. Is you got to dial in for what purpose is the gift or the monetary donation or gift or handout, whatever you want to call it, to the grandchild. Is it for whatever the child needs it for at any time in their life, right? Is it specifically for college? Could it be for an apartment when the child graduates high school? Could it be for travel? Maybe the grandchild wants to travel, go to Europe or overseas or do missions or whatever. So you want to fund these things. Maybe it's for a first car. So that's the first thing that a family has to figure out is what's the purpose. And then you get into what's the right tool.
Sure.
So do you want the grandkid to have control over it? Or do you want to retain control over it? A very nice vehicle for this purpose are Roth IRAs.
Really?
For the grandparent or the parent of the grandchild. So they're tax-free.
Okay.
You don't have to use it for qualified education.
All right.
There's no rules except you got to be 59 and a half. So depending on the age of the parents, if by the time the grandchild's 18, are the parents going to be 59 and a half at the time? If they're not, then we look at grandparents.
Okay.
And in order to, instead of giving your grandchild $5,000, we can get $5,000 into a Roth IRA for grandma and grandpa. So once you get to that age, you have to have earned income to save in a Roth.
Okay.
It's got to be earned. You have to have a W-2 or some type of self-employment income to be able to contribute to a Roth.
Okay.
If you don't, and a lot don't, right? If you're 70 and want to help a grandchild, a lot of both 70-year-olds, they're not working. So the next step is Roth conversions. Okay, that's where you take money from an IRA, pay the tax on it, and get it to a Roth IRA.
Okay.
So say you're in a 12% bracket. Most retirees are. You convert $10,000 to a Roth, right, from an IRA to a Roth. Costs you $1,200 in tax. Right? Now it's a Roth, grows tax-free indefinitely.
Okay.
You can make withdrawals whenever you want. and you only paid $1,200 in tax to get it done.
Okay.
So instead of giving the grandchild 10 grand or 5 or whatever, convert 10 grand of your own IRA to a Roth, your own Roth, so it's yours. You just know it's for grandchild Joey or whoever. And now you could use that tax-free Roth account for whatever you want in the future.
Wow.
Gross tax-free, can be withdrawn tax-free. It's a perfect tool.
Okay. So
I love it.
But if you put that in, you can't put that in the child's name because he can't use it until he's 60 years old.
Correct. Yeah. And the child would need earned income, right?
Oh, sure.
But say that, Roths are fine for young people, are great if it's earmarked for retirement. If they have earned income, to say they don't have any money because they spent it all on whatever, you could still put whatever they earned out of your pocket into a Roth for them. And so, it's good. 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids starting a Roth, letting it grow for 40 years.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's nobody does it. I mean, very few. I have some clients that did it and started early, and it's just, it grows and grows and grows and grows.
Sure. And with that compounded interest, depending on where you start, that could...
it's crazy money. Just a little bit turns into a lot.
Right. Well, we're going to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about helping our grandchildren financially and how we can manage that, how we can control that if we would like to, and more thoughts from Wayne on how to best make that happen for your family. One of the things that Wayne is, I think, is good at is helping a family put together a plan that makes sense for them. Your plan's different than my plan, and the guy across the street, his plan's different than both of ours.
Yeah, you don't want to set up Roth IRAs for 10 of your grandchildren? Or 15, right? 15. That's a lot of money, but yeah.
No, it would, I don't have that kind of fun.
Different situation.
But everybody is different, and every income is different, every family is different, and that's what's good about going in and seeing Wayne. You can pick up the phone and dial his office and set up an appointment. Go in and talk to Wayne at 866-626-3990, or go to his website at todaysretirees.com. On that website, you'll find all kinds of information. All of these programs are there, and you can sign up for free newsletters, all kinds of things, but it's todaysretirees.com. We'll be back right after this.
A certified financial planner is a true professional, a well-rounded, holistic planner that helps you in all areas of your financial life. Estate planning, tax planning, financial planning, insurance planning. We have to sit for a 10-hour, 2-day exam, at least back when I took the test. It's not just a weekend designation where you go somewhere for a couple days, pay a couple $100, and now you have letters behind your name. One thing I think is important is that you try and find a independent certified financial planner. Somebody that doesn't work for a big firm. I myself own my company, Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. The buck stops with me, an independent, certified financial planner, one of the only ones on the north coast of Ohio.
Visit todaysretirees.com or call 866-626-3990 to schedule a no-cost appointment with Wayne.
So we've all heard the word rollover when referring to an investment account at work or your 401k, your 403b, your 457 plan. What do you do with that when you've left your job and your 401k or other retirement plan is still at your old employer? Or what if you've retired? One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to leave your money, your retirement account, in your employer's 401k. Quite frankly, your old employer or current employer is the boss of your retirement account. So if you have questions about what to do with your rollover, you roll it to Wayne. Get it in your own hands where you have the whole universe of investments and choices, not just what your employer tells you can pick from. So contact my office for a free consultation on how to roll over your old retirement account.
Visit todaysretirees.com or call 866-626-3990 to schedule a no-cost appointment with Wayne.
Welcome back to Today's Retirees with certified financial planner Wayne Maslyk. of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. Today's program, we're talking about our grandchildren and a plan if we as grandparents are going to help our children. And we've talked about different ways to fund different scenarios for our grandchildren. What if, the world is different than it was when you and I were kids. But, your grandchildren, some of them may not be able to handle resources, money, as well as others. You may have several children, and they don't handle the money as well as they should. So their children aren't going to handle it very well. So how do you decide, or how do you do this? In my brain, I'm saying I can't let Joey have it equally as Sally because they just don't think the same.
Well, if you have multiple grandkids, it kind of goes back to what we talked about in the beginning of the show. What's the purpose of the money? College, weddings, first house, first car, room and board, just to help them, just so they have money. If they want to go buy a jet ski when they're 18, they can do it. We use different accounts for different things. So that's a big one.
Sure.
And do you want to have control, or do you want the grandkid to have control? That's another thing. And what you're getting to is most grandparents have multiple grandkids at different stages of their life.
Sure.
In a lot of cases, they're not all angels.
Okay.
That's grandkids go through phases of life just like, we all have.
Right.
So some may not be ready for grandpa or grandma's help. Some will. There might be second marriages involved with your kids where you don't even see, your blood grandkids, and you see your step grandkids. And they treat you just like a blood grandma and grandpa. Whatever the case, every family's different, like we always say on this show. But you got to make a decision, who do you want to help?
Sure.
Do you want to help your grandkids as in equally, all of them? Do you want to help the one that's really putting forth effort to get good grades, to prepare for college, to be a good kid, stay out of trouble, be active, so-and-so? The kid that's gone off to the right path and is doing whatever, do you want to help that grandkid too? So it's up to the grandparent.
Sure.
Some don't want to help one and not the others, so they don't help any of them.
Right.
And I try and tell them, it's your money, you do whatever you want with it. Some worry that their child will get upset if you help Joey and not Jane, or you help these two and not this one. The grandkids really could care less, probably, because they understand. But the parents get upset at grandma and grandpa. What are you doing favoring this kid over there? So, I help the families work all that stuff out.
Right.
You could set things up to where you go through the parents. You give it however you want to give it. Here's 10 grand or 5, or put it towards the grandkids, whatever.
Sure.
And then the grandma and grandpa step back and let the parents handle it. There's many, many ways to do it.
Is there a way so that and this is my verbiage, you can control it even after you're, let's say you have substantial amount, you're going to, but you want to divvy this out over 10 years or something. Is there ways to do that as well?
Well, of course. There's ways to do anything you want. Really, it depends on the situation of the grandparent or yourself, the parents, the grandkids, and the amount of money involved, the timeline. You want to help them out. And again, do you want control or not? Yes, you may want to divvy it over 10 years, but once they get the 1/10, can they do what they want with it? Or do they have to use it for a specific purpose? How much control do you want over it? How much control do you want them to have?
So it makes it interesting, but you help them put together this whole thing.
That's the purpose of a financial planner. The step one is, hey, Wayne, we have some extra money. We want to help out our grandkids. What do we do from here?
Right.
And then I work through everything we just talked about on the show and more. We'll get into next week's show where we'll talk more about the parents of the grandkids, your kids, where you should be holding them accountable for some things.
Okay.
If they're going to be inheriting some money from you, you want to make sure their estate plan's in order. So we'll talk next week on that. And also, this whole show was, present day gifts. We're still living. So next week's show, we'll get more into inheritance type stuff.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, the first step, hey, we want to help our grandkids. And then people come in and I walk them through everything we just talked about, but in more detail.
Sure, all the scenarios and the tax ramifications, all of the above, right?
Yeah, we can do it in a tax favored way. We can do it in a tax favored way for the future. There's two ways to plan for tax. But we don't have time here, but we talk about it regularly on this show. Do we want to save tax today, or do we want to save tax in the future?
Sure.
Again, that's just depends.
Right. That's his answer. It's always depends.
Depends on what people want, and then you make the plan around what they want.
It's your family, and your family is different than my family, and what you need and desire and want is going to be different. That's why Wayne does what he does. That's why it's important for you to pick up the phone and dial that number, make an appointment, go in and sit down and talk to Wayne at 866-626-3990, 866-626-3990, or stop by his website at todaysretirees.com. We'll see you the next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. Visit todaysretirees.com or call 866-626-3990 to schedule a no-cost appointment with Wayne. Today's Retirees is brought to you by Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management, family-focused retirement and tax planning services, anchored in family values. Information and opinions discussed on Today's Retirees do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this station. Opinions expressed should not be substituted for individualized consultation with a qualified financial advisor. For specific information, call 866-626-3990 or visit todaysretirees.com.
A certified financial planner is a true professional, a well-rounded, holistic planner that helps you in all areas of your financial life. Estate planning, tax planning, financial planning, insurance planning. We have to sit for a 10-hour, 2-day exam, at least back when I took the test. It's not just a weekend designation where you go somewhere for a couple days, pay a couple $100, and now you have letters behind your name. One thing I think is important is that you try and find an independent certified financial planner. Somebody that doesn't work for a big firm. I myself own my company, Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. The buck stops with me, an independent, certified financial planner, one of the only ones on the north coast of Ohio.